This video is for you if you'd like to learn how to transition your Hoyas from soil to leca. I'm going to be transitioning my Hoyas using 3 different methods. Throughout this video, I'll be giving you lots of tips about how to transition your Hoyas and have them survive. I've got my Hoya Wilbur Graves. This is a beautiful, beautiful Hoya that I'm going to be transitioning today. I also have a Hoya Lambi. Look at that leaf. Is that not just the most amazing leaf you've ever seen? My next plant is a Hoya Gigas. Gigas. Lots of people will have various opinions about how to pronounce that word, but call it what you like. This is the Hoya that I'll be transitioning from soil to leca as well today. The flowers of this plant are just spectacular. That's what that looks like there. I recently saw this plant in full bloom, and I tell you, it is something to behold. I saw those flowers and I knew I needed it in my collection. So today I'm going to show you how I sort out all these 3 plants, and like I said, I'll be giving you lots of tips along the way, so watch out for those. Of course, the first thing I'm going to do is take these plants out of the soil. So just gently squeezing the pot and taking that out. That is my Wilbur Graves there, and as you can see, that plant is pretty dry. Those roots are nice and small. Take my next plant, again, just giving that a very, very gentle squeeze. And that comes out really, really easily. That's the root system over there, you can see. And of course, last but not least, gentle squeeze, and out she comes. Oh, that one's a bit more resistant. There we go. There we go. That is that plant's root system over there. So I'm now going to take these plants outside and give them a very, very good wash. I'm going to be using the jet spray of my hose just to get as much of that organic matter off as I can. And of course, the message here is, look, you don't necessarily need to get these roots clinical. You just want to get as much of that dirt off as you can. Okay, I am back from outside and my plants are looking fantastic. This is my Lambi, and the eagle-eyed among you will notice that when I first showed you this plant, it actually had 3 leaves on it. I was a bit heavy-handed with the cleaning and I lopped 1 leaf off. So yeah, my bad. That was not so good, but there we go. What can you do? So those are the roots of my plant now. It's looking really, really good. And as you can see, you know, there's a few bits still there. I'm not worried about that. It's absolutely fine. That plant will be fine. No need, like I said, to get the plant clinical. That is my next one here. Let me just take that off. There, that looks nice. That's the root system there. I'm quite happy with how clean that is, and that is my other plant. Now that I have these all clean, we'll go to the next phase of this process. So for this Gigas, I'm going to transition this as the one that will be going directly from soil into leca. But for this Lambi, I'm actually going to take those roots off. I know some people do get a bit concerned about getting the roots as clean as they possibly can. Or I know someone actually wrote to me the other day and said that they had root mealies on their plant that they bought from Etsy or something like that. And they wondered if they could remove the roots. So yeah, so I'm going to show you how I do that with my plants. So you don't necessarily, and again, I'm not saying this is a cure for root mealies. I'm just talking about how, if you're concerned about the roots for whatever reason with a Hoya, you actually can take those roots off and that plant is still going to root. So there we go. I think I've taken off as much as I could. There. That is the roots of my plant. There's a little bit one here. That's just being very stubborn. There. I'm pretty sure there's like some vestigial roots hanging on there that I haven't been able to cut because they're pretty small. But, you know, I think from there to that, that's as no roots as you can get it. So the thing I love about this Wilbur Graves is that it's actually got this bit over here, this section over here. I'm going to cut that off and I'm going to root that. So I'm going to root this plant in leca, right? So I've got this. So I've taken this off from this section of plant and I've got this. So I'm going to root this in Leca. So that's it. That's all that it is. And I'm going to show you how I actually get that cutting to survive while it's rooting in Leca and has no roots. And then this one I will treat like the Gigas and I'll just put it straight into Leca and that should be fine. It does have quite a fair big root system. Yeah, I can just get rid of some of those, really make it nice and clean, and that'll go straight into Leca. One of the things that I'm really loving about this video is that I'm actually going to show you what these plants do after a few weeks. So you don't just have to take my word for it about the fact that this is going to work. You're actually going to see that yes, this has worked. So today I'm going to be using my very gorgeous little naked root planters for my cuttings. I love these little planters. They're just so cute and so gorgeous. So gorgeous. And if you're interested in purchasing one of these, you can use my discount code and go to their website and grab yourself a 20% discount. But yes, I'm using these. The first plant I'm going to do is my Gigas, this one over here, and that's just going to be the straight soil to Leca transfer. And I'm also going to put a trellis on this plant because as you can see, it's already starting to get pretty tall and I need to be able to support it and control it. So this is my simple, easy DIY trellis. And this trellis is really just an aluminium solid rod, which is 6.3 millimeters thick and 1 meter. Is that 1 meter? Yes, 1 meter long, tall, long. And all I do is just, it's so soft and it doesn't rust. It's not hollow. You can see it's just soft, very, very soft aluminium. And all I do is just go like that. And that makes my trellis. See? That is it. And the good thing is you can squeeze it and it can become pretty narrow and that will fit in my really, really small naked root planter. And there you go. That works really, really well. I love that. And if you're interested in getting one of these, I just buy these from Bunnings, our local hardware store here in Australia. And if you want to get one, I'll put a link in the description. Oh, there we go. That's that label off. Chuck that to the ground and put some Leca in my pot. And yeah, I love that. And I will get my plant and put it there and just put some Leca in that pot. Just fill that up nicely. Make sure that my plant is well covered. Those roots are well covered and there you go. I'll just jig this a little bit and voila. I've got some little butterfly clips here. I'll just clip my plant there and clip it there and I'll chuck it in its little reservoir pot. And that is it. Oh, hang on. I forgot to do one thing. I forgot my little label. The good thing is these go in fairly easily. And there we go. That is my Gigas all potted up. That looks really, really beautiful. This one, my Lambi, the one that's got no roots, you can see it's got absolutely 0 roots. I will put this one in my little white one. It looks amazing. So I just put a little bit of Leca at the bottom there. You can see what that looks like. And literally just put that there. You know, it's not going all the way down to the bottom. It's just suspended right at the top. And I'll fill that up with Leca. Making sure I've got my plant exactly where I want it to be. And voila! Chuck that in my little reservoir, and that is my Lambi. Got my little label, put that there. That looks beautiful. This is the little cutting that I've got. So it's pretty similar to this one, although this one already had roots. So those, you know, like I said, those little bits of roots that were there were still there, but this one has got absolutely zero roots on it. This was the cutting that I took from my Wilbur Graves. So I'll be putting it in this tiny pot, and I'll do the same thing that I did with my Lambi. And I've just got a little bit of Leca in there, and I'll put that right in the middle and fill the rest up with Leca. Okay, now there's something very special that I'm going to do with this cutting that will help it survive that transition from being on the mother plant and being provided with water and nutrition to just literally hanging out on its own. So just hang on and find out what I'm going to do. So I'm going to put this one in this little reservoir over here, and it's clear so we can see exactly when those roots come and what they look like. And for my main Wilbur Graves plant, that's just going to be a direct, soil to Leca transfer. Okay, just put some Leca in my pot, so just about a third of the way or so. Put my plant on there and just, again, fill the rest of that up with Leca. Okay, that looks pretty good. In my gorgeous little watering can, I've got my special sauce, which is my Clonex clone solution and my root zone that's going to help those roots, stimulate them and get them to grow and help my plant get over the line. For my Wilbur Graves, this is what I'm going to be using as the reservoir. I'll put a little bit of my special sauce in there, and I want that solution to not touch those roots over there. So I want it to stop right about there, maybe. So when I do that and I pick it up, you can see that it stops right about there, which is perfect. Right, put that little label on there. That's really important. Now for my little pots. This is the little inlet that you're supposed to use to pour the stuff in there. That's what they say, but really that's just really impossible. So I just pour it from the top, and when it gets to a point where it's all the way up there, it's actually going to start spilling out from there. So I don't want to put too much. I can see that it's not, whoops. There, I don't know if you can see it, but it's not too much. It's all right. It's not hitting those roots. I think that is great. I'll just leave that there. Same thing for this one. I can actually, so it's, where is that? Not a lot. So I put that there. When I pick it up, I can see that it's about there, which is exactly where I want it. For my little cutting, I hope you can see over there, when I put that there, I want my nutrient solution to stop before it gets to the cutting. So I know my cutting is about there. So if I leave my nutrient solution there, that's good. And that Leca at the top is going to get moist as well because of the capillary action that the Leca balls have. Now, in order to support the leaves that are on this little cutting that I've taken from my Wilbur Graves, I need to increase the humidity around the leaves because, you know, the leaves maintain their structure and they feel nice and firm because of turgor pressure. Basically, you've got the difference in pressures between the outside, the inside, and the water that's within the cells of the leaves. So if I have more humidity on the outside than the plant would normally have, you don't have a lot of that moisture getting lost to the outside. I hope that makes sense. And so to do that, I am going to be using this. I'll put my little cutting in there, and I think I got this from IKEA. Really, it's, you know, nothing fancy. All right, in you go. And I close that there. And what that does is just maintains the humidity in that. And, you know, maybe like once a day or something, I'll just flick it over like this, just so it's not too stuffy in there, just so it can air out a bit. And then I close it again. And within not too long, you'll actually see the roots start to develop because, and those leaves are still going to be okay because that extra humidity that's being provided by this gorgeous looking gizmo is supporting the plant. So I'll see you in a few weeks and we'll take a look and see how these plants are getting on. Hello plant people, it's been 81 days since I moved my Hoyas from soil into Leca using the various methods. So let's see what's happening. First up is the Hoya Lambi. There is that plant. That is still alive. Tick! Next up is the cutting that I took from the Hoya Wilbur Graves. That is also still alive. That's a big tick. And then we have the Hoya Gigas. That also looks alive, so yeah. And that's the mother plant of my Hoya Wilbur Graves. So I'm really happy with this. They are all still alive. Now, let's examine the all-important root system. Let's look at the little cutting first. This is the little Hoya Greaves. I took a cutting off of that plant and look, I'm really happy. Those leaves feel really firm. You can see how they're looking really good. Look at that. It is just brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Now I'm going to take this plant out and show you. This is just going to blow your socks off. You guys have no idea what you have waiting for you. Look at this. Look at the roots. There are so many roots in that plant. It is amazing. I don't want to say I'm shocked because I knew this was going to happen, but I wanted you guys to see how easy it is to actually propagate a Hoya from a cutting directly into Leca, and that works really well because when you do it this way, it's just a one-stop shop. You're not putting it in sphagnum moss or in stratum and then moving it from there into the forever home. This is its forever home. It's starting where it's going to finish. Hey, you can't beat that for efficiency. So that right there is my Wilbur Graves that has propagated in Leca clay balls and is doing fantastically. Next up, let's look at the Wilbur Graves mother plant, shall we? This is the main plant, and this is the plant that went straight from soil, washed the roots off and put it into Leca. And look, the plant is doing really well. Those leaves are very firm. I think it's actually, this vine has actually grown longer, taller, bigger. It's a lot longer than what it was before. But you can see, the root system, you can see some of the roots over there and over there. So it's neither here nor there. There's not much to talk about really. But the point is the plant is still alive. It's established. It's doing well. So moving a Hoya directly from soil to Leca, it does not skip a beat. I have not had any leaf loss with this one at all. So yeah, that is also a very good option. Moving a Hoya from soil to Leca directly, keeping the original root system, that works really well. Let's look at my Hoya Lambi next. This is the Hoya where I removed all the roots, completely decimated the root system and basically put it back into a cutting form really. Although it's not really a cutting because there are vestigial bits of roots left even when I remove the roots. But there we are. We started with this plant without any roots. And we started off with 2 leaves, remember. We did have 3 originally, but I lost one when I was cleaning off the plant. Look at that plant. The leaves are quite firm. That to me says something is happening in the root department. So I'm going to take it out of this ever so cute naked root planter. And of course, if you want to grab yourself one of these, just look in the description below for a link to where you can get one and a 20% off discount code. But I digress. Let us look at what's happening. I do have to say that I was a little bit disappointed with this, and I'll tell you why I was disappointed. So because the naked root planter is not clear, I actually can't see what's going on with the root system of this plant, and I was hoping that at this point, maybe I'd have some roots coming out of there, but there aren't any, and I have been waiting. I've been waiting for weeks. I really wanted to wrap up this video, but this has been the only holdout. So I decided to do something that I highly encourage you not to do at home. I am actually going to take this plant out of the pot so we can take a look and see what's happening with the root system, because otherwise we'll be waiting here forever. But again, like I say, do not try this at home. So let's do it. Oh, yes. Look at that. Oh, I'm really happy with that. How cute and gorgeous are those teeny tiny roots? They're so beautiful. And also, they're not very big. I would have been waiting for ages. Can you imagine how long it would have taken for those little roots to go through this pot? It would have taken forever. That is just simply amazing. So for those of you who are concerned about so much dirt on your Hoya roots, you can't get the sphagnum moss off, you can't get the potting mix off, you're concerned about the roots rotting in your leca, if that's something that you're concerned about, you can always use this method. One thing I do have to say though is I've never tried this with a very, very, very big established Hoya. I don't know if that would work as well, to be honest, because there is a much bigger plant that is at stake. The plant needs so much more water, it needs so much more nutrition. So I think a fair few leaves might actually suffer in the long term before the plant establishes the root system to support the plant. But for a smaller Hoya like this one, I think this method works really, really well. But if you want to try your big Hoya, go for it. I don't encourage it, but go for it. So now I'll just put this baby back and hopefully she can continue to grow for me. Last but not least is my Hoya Gigas. And if you recall, this is the one where I just did a direct transfer from soil to leca. And this one has got a little root that's peeking right there at the bottom. Oh, I don't know if you can see it. It's so small. It's right there at the bottom. But again, I'm going to do the thing that I tell you not to do, and I'm going to take it out of the pot so you can see what the root system is looking like. And of course, that again, that's where, I really do like clear pots because it's easier for me to show you exactly what's happening. But, what can you do? What can you do? But you can see as well that this plant has actually grown as well. So I think things are going really, really good there. Now, let us see what is about. That is the root system there. What's really special about this plant is you can actually see the new roots that have come through. You can see that one over here. That one is nice and fuzzy and clean compared to all the other dark ones. So it's really clear to see which ones the new roots are. And that plant just really continues. So if there's any roots that die off, they go off, but the rest of the plant continues to grow. One thing I wanted to show you is how. See, this is the leca that this plant was living in. You can see how there's a very little root debris there. So little. So I know a lot of people get concerned about the fact that the old soil roots are going to die off and they're going to make my leca dirty. But look at that. That's all I can say. Look at that. This leca is pretty clean. You saw me take that plant out of that. I haven't replaced it. So yeah, it doesn't get as dirty as people think it will. So yeah, moving your plant, your Hoya, directly from soil to leca is a definite option that for me pretty much works every time. All right, now I'm going to put this plant back and hope it forgives me for the intrusion. So this here is the story of my 3 Hoyas. Hoya that was a cutting, thriving in leca clay balls. Hoya whose roots were taken off, also thriving in leca clay balls. Hoya that was moved directly from soil to leca with all the roots intact, also thriving in leca clay balls. Of course, not all soil to leca transitions work well using this method. You might encounter some casualties. Now there's another way that I use, which I like to call the long method, that almost always guarantees success for some plants when you're moving your plant from soil to leca. Go watch this next video where we'll take a deep dive into the long method. I'll see you there.